Welcome to Whistle Talks. Today we will be speaking to Jared Best-Mitchell, LinkedIn coach and sales trainer. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today, Jared.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute honor.
Amazing. So, of course, today we are going to be speaking about something that I believe would benefit or be highly beneficial to any professional that is on LinkedIn, and that is how to master the art of LinkedIn direct messaging. So before we dive in, Jared, I'd love to, first get to know you a little bit more. If you could tell our viewers a little bit more about, what you do, just a little bit of background story about yourself.
Yeah, of course. I am a sales trainer based in the Trinidad and Tobago, and I work primarily in the Caribbean. Over the last 5 years since I've started my business, when I checked it to date, I've been in over 10 countries in the Caribbean. I have helped companies generate, I'm thinking I'm close to about over 100 million US, or way over that amount right now, and over 1,000 sales professionals trained. I've been in sales my entire life. I've worked for local telecom providers like Digicel. I've worked for Nokia, for Samsung, for Microsoft, and I got into this because I had a passion for sales, and I used to feel crushed when I saw salespeople struggling, because I'm like, this is easy. Like, there are challenges, but you shouldn't be struggling this hard. And then I realized that LinkedIn was the best place to start sharing my knowledge. And that's how the two kind of combined. Like, I just started to learn and master the platform and looking at other trainers who were doing it to apply my techniques in context to the Caribbean, again, with the sales skills that I was learning and that I've had. And I just started to put it together, and it eventually became my business, which I've been doing now. It's a 6-figure business. It helps me live the lifestyle that I want and do everything that I want. And I think more importantly, I love what I do every day. And as we were talking before we started, the third thing that I'm known for in addition to the sales and LinkedIn is just my obsession with the color yellow. It's not the love for the color yellow. It's my obsession with the color yellow. So this is not a background, folks. That's the actual color. So that, I think, has just been my success. And to give exact context of why you would want value on, why you'd want to listen to the rest of this episode, to date, I've done about 7,000 personalized videos to people on LinkedIn since LinkedIn has started video. And I have about a 30 to 40% response rate. Just this morning, I now got another inbound lead that stemmed from a video that I sent to a prospect. Like, that's the power of it. Like, and I love the fact that we get to talk about it because it's something I'm obsessed with. And I don't know if you're seeing it. And I'll give prelude to this. I think even with all the AI that's out there helping us send it out in mass, the ones who take the time to send a truly personalized video to their top prospects, you are going to win, because they would know for a fact that it's a human and not a generic message that they just received.
Very true. Well, thank you for sharing that. And on that note, I was going to wear something yellow for this talk just so that we could match, but you will be very shocked to know that I do not own a single item of yellow clothing.
my love for yellow is very selfish. I tell people I am obsessed with yellow.
You've bought it all. There's nothing left for the rest of us.
If my daughter, my wife, they don't wear it, I'm okay with that. I like it. Like, that's my focus. It's for me. If you like it, cool. But if not,
well, I love it. It really stands out.
Yes.
But anyway, so let's just jump right into it. So on the topic of video, I remember that the first time that I reached out to you, you actually responded with the video, and that really stood out to me. So I would just like to hear from your side, why is it that you think that video is the best form of DM, direct messaging via LinkedIn?
I think a personalized video on LinkedIn is one of the best methods of outreach. So and by the way, even when LinkedIn introduced voice, I just switched across to only sending people voice messages. And then when it came to video, I did video. So here's my thinking behind this, folks, of why video matters and why it's the most important way to interact with your prospect the first time. I think that because we're in such a digital world and some of us will never see each other in person, I think it's so important now, especially in the AI world, that is in the AI dominated world that we're starting to see in sales. It's important for the person on the other end to know that there's a human speaking to them. I think even more than ever now, the fact that you took time to send them that message and it's from a human, it's somebody, I think that creates a connection. Even if the person might tell you, you know what, Sean, I already have the service, there's no need for it. I think they'll still appreciate the fact that you stopped your day to do this for them. And I think text doesn't get you that opportunity at all. And a lot of sales professionals rely on text. As great as a copy is, I do not think it gets the ability for your voice to go across, for people to hear your tone, your energy, your excitement, or to even hear the curiosity. And when you're asking them a question that could lead to an opportunity, I do not think written aspect gets it done. I think video puts everything together, because even in a voice note, you can't see the facial expressions. I think because you get to see my face and everything, that literally just sparks something within the person receiving the message. And they see it as, you know, a great opportunity to return the message, whether it's written or video itself, just because you took that opportunity. It's almost like reciprocity in action.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, how are you monitoring the performance of your video messages versus your normal or voice message?
I do not send anything to any new connection first unless it's a video. I
Okay,
I
great.
still check it manually. If anybody's listening and you know there's a better way for me to check it, I'm not sure if the new analytics platforms like AuthorUp and Shield have anything new in the mix. I don't think I'm not sure if they examine the DMs. If they do, that would be great. But I just measure it on a manual basis, like take a stock of it every month, and I do my measurements based on that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So on the note of DM, right, so just moving on, Jared, thank you for sharing that. I will definitely be using video, or I'll be trying it out. Whether I'll be good at it is another thing, but I'll definitely try it out. What are your 3 go-to types of messages, to send via LinkedIn?
The 3, I have a couple depending on who I'm reaching out to. So I want to give you all different levels because I think it's relevant. Yes, some of us are on LinkedIn to reach out to our ideal prospect, but I think in a lot of cases, because of the content we create or just how optimized our profile is, we would receive connections from other people who just saw a like-minded individual like yourself and they decided to connect. So if I get a connection request or I connect with somebody who doesn't fit my ID client profile, but they just other similarities based on the industry, I have a standard messaging. But this format is incredibly important because it applies to the rest. When I begin any video message, I don't say hi, I don't say my name, because that's already in the messaging block on LinkedIn. Why are you wasting precious seconds? I start off by saying your name immediately, because I think that's how you get your attention. Again, I look at this as if I'm out in the real world, and I think like if I want to get Sean's attention, I'm not going to say, hi, I'm Jared. I'm going to say, Sean. I'm going
Very
to say
true.
your name. So I use that to get their attention. And I start off with their name. And then I literally say, hey, Sean, thanks so much for connecting. Really looking forward to engaging with you. I noticed that you're also in this particular field. And I always like to poke and ask, as you're a sales professional, what do you see as the biggest challenge that you're having? Or more importantly, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for us in sales right now? And you use that to start the discussion. So if I'm speaking to someone who's just a standard connection, yes. If I'm speaking to somebody who's my ideal client, I have a couple of things. So I'm in 2 minds about pitch slapping, because I think how it's done is like, I can't even say, like, I'm still debating over it, to say it weirdly, because I think a lot of people do it wrong, and I think it doesn't work for a lot of people because they keep messaging the wrong client. So if you know you've connected with your ideal client, here's the first option you could do, but it's based on the premise that you are creating a lot of content relevant to them. So again,
Right.
after I connect, I send blank connection requests. I don't put notes in my connection
Okay.
requests. So after you connect with me, I send you the video. So what I send and I say is, hey, Sean, thanks for connecting. My reason for doing so is that people in this industry have really been engaging with my content and finding value because it helps them solve this problem. I'm not sure if your industry is also experiencing it, but based on what I've been seeing, there is a possibility. Let me know if the content is going to give you value. However, if you'd like to have a one-on-one discussion to really break it down more, if this is a relevant problem to you now, I'll be happy to set a meeting.
Okay. So
So
that's that's a
yeah,
good point as well for someone to ensure that they are posting the right content, and that gives them, leverage to reach out to someone and mention it in their video.
correct. And then what you're doing is deflecting. So, because how I look at it is that I'm seeing your industry. I know your problem. I'm still going to tell you there's a resource you can use if you haven't found a resource, because we all know that if prospects are experiencing a problem, they want to go on their buying journey on their own before they reach out to you. I just want to make sure that I influence your buying journey as much as possible. So if you are creating content, this is what you should be doing first. You should direct them to it. And then I know we always talk about the follow-up, but you should follow up like a week or 3 days to a week after, to just ask, hey, did you get a chance to check out the content? Were you able to check it out? And I would still follow it up a second time and say, here's the most relevant one. I got the most engagement because it speaks about this problem. Like, that's how I'd literally do it. So it's always about deflecting and seeing yourself as a resource versus seeing yourself as somebody who's actually just there to sell. And it works really well if you are creating content that's good on the platform. You would always win.
Amazing. And do you just send a video wherever you are? Do you, find the perfect setting?
Wherever I am, I don't overlook. So here's my Bible rule. I call this my Bible. People know this about me. If I do a video, the first thing I do is wipe my lens. Like,
Absolutely.
That's just my golden rule. We are not sending cloudy videos in 2024, people.
No.
And I know some people listen to Sunny podcast, but don't rub it on your t-shirt. I mean, like, take the t-shirt and rub the lens. Like, if you're cleaning your spectacles, like, that's how you need to clean. Like, when you look at it against the light, like it's glossy, and you go against natural light, don't put the light behind you so you can get maximum light on your face, and just do the video. I think people are more interested in your words versus what's going on around you. However, I would say that depending on the industry, if you have a really interesting job, like where the warehouse might be something valuable or where the product is behind you, definitely do your videos where the product is behind you, because that's just being relevant for them to see something. You can incorporate all of those things. But for me, I don't care about the background. I just ensure that my lens is clean and that there's minimal noise, so that, again, the audio comes across very crisp and clear.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you also, one thing that's stood out to me, which you mentioned earlier, talking about the 3 different go-tos of LinkedIn messaging, was you mentioned follow-ups. Now, just moving on to the next point,
like, if you want to send a first message, this is also based on the premise of you have no content on your page. Your profile is optimized so I can see what you do. It's just a direct, outright pitch. But again, it's if you're talking to your ideal client. So it's literally saying, hey, Sean, thank you so much for accepting the connection request. My reason for sending it is that I'm working with a lot of C-level executives, CIOs, or these types of industries, helping them solve this problem. If this is relevant for you, let me know if you're open to getting a meeting where I could share how our company is helping solve this for persons. And you could probably make a decision to decide if this is a relevant fit for the company at this time. That is your direct pitch. That's how you do the follow-up, right? I wait a week after, between 3 days to a week after, to follow up with the prospect. So if you have sent the message for the first 2 types of messages we sent, which is the standard introduction and the value if you're creating content, I want you just to use the up arrow emoji to say, hey, Sean, not spam, but just wanted to say, hi, thanks for connecting, and I asked a relevant question. That's the standard response. The second one now, where adding the value is, hey, Sean, not spam, but I create a lot of content based on this industry problem that I know a lot of companies like yours experience. Feel free to check out the content anytime you get a chance, right? Then the third one now, which is based on when we direct ask them for business, is where you say, hey, Sean, just wanted to find out if you got a chance to look at the video and was the message relevant. So here's the only con/disadvantage when it comes to video messaging and even voice messaging. Sometimes the prospect is not in a position where they could listen to the message. That is honestly one reason why they never respond. So that follow-up aspect is really important, because a lot of them do say, thanks so much, I wasn't in a position to listen, or I'm just not interested in the offer that you have.
that a lot of the time people don't appreciate me reaching out to them via LinkedIn, as many people have an issue with the fact that, well, they say, LinkedIn isn't a platform for you to prospect on, or, people write, negative responses. They don't want to be sold to on LinkedIn. Have you ever had that? And what would you say is your best way to combat that?
That happens. So here's the weird thing. That is interesting given the fact that what LinkedIn is now is a platform for you to do B2B sales. Like, I think that's so weird. And it's funny, a lot of those objections come from people who have sales teams. So what do you want your sales teams to do on LinkedIn? Like, to me, LinkedIn is the best platform where you can actually approach another business professional to sell your services. However, even if somebody messages me and says, Jared, I don't want to be pitched to, this is awful, why are you messaging me? All I would do is apologize and say sorry about that, and I would move on. I'm not going to go through any strategies of overcoming objections or push. To me, if you have described a direct dislike for what I sent you, it means that something in my ID client profile or what I saw from your profile, I misunderstood. I'll just give myself the benefit that I'm wrong, and I'm going to move on. I'm not an evangelist. My goal is not to convince you that you need to talk to me and this is what LinkedIn is about. If your stance is just being on the platform to just engage, that's great. You do you.
Okay. Yeah, agreed. 100%. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan. I've literally told everyone about you, so I'm very pleased about this partnership.
Nice. Yes.
I think that everyone listening here will walk away with a fresh perspective on how to approach LinkedIn DMs.
Yes.
Whether it's video follow-ups or anything like that. So yeah, thank you for sharing those golden tips with us. And
can I give one last tip?
Yes, please.
So here's the other thing to consider. Don't focus too much. A lot of people sometimes don't do video because of their looks. Again, that's not the important part. The important part is just make sure, like, if you're picking a day probably where you're dressed up for work, do the videos those days. Don't do the videos when you're working from home and in your pajamas and you have no makeup on. Like, okay, no problem. Or you haven't gotten a haircut, no problem. Do it on the days when you find you have the most confidence, and batch and send out all of those prospect requests. The last bonus I would say is, depending on the device you use, which is iOS or Android, because remember, you can't do this. It's not to knock them, but don't use this like using the third-party tools like Vidyard, because remember, I would have to click to go off LinkedIn just to see the video.
Right.
Use it natively in the app so that I could just stay on the app and look at the video and I get to see it. The other thing to keep in mind, use a slight smile like half second before you start. So like before you click record, full smile, then drop it and click record so that when you see that little thumbnail, it's not going to look awkward.
Catch you on an awkward pose.
Yeah. However, an awkward pose, depending on the person, may work. And then the last bonus I would say is, and this is an old technique, I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not sure how valid it is. If you have a whiteboard that you could write the person's name on it, then that could also get their attention as well, because at least they will know it's something speaking to them versus something as a generic message.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for those golden tips. Honestly, extremely useful, and I'm definitely going to give them a try myself. I just need to catch a day where I'm not in my pajamas. But anyway, so thank you so much for your time, and of course we are looking forward to future collaborations with you, and also more Whistle Talks, hopefully.
Yes, definitely looking to more Whistle Talks, and as I say, helping you guys out as much as possible. I love the partnership. Thank you for having me on.
Amazing.